This is Rattling the Cage with Tony Reid.
Brought to you by Grappito. Grip like a hawk. Grappito.com.
It's time.
Hey, it's Rattling the Cage with Tony Reid, podcast number 3. Uno, dos, tres, rule number 3. Presented by Grappito. As always, please check out Grappito.com for the Grappito. We're live from the 8 days a week studio in Stone State Entertainment, the beautiful facility that we now call home. John Vivakis, what's up? In studio with me as always. What's going on, man?
Hey, I know this is really hard for you to believe, but the other day I got stopped by the police. So
is this a legit?
This is a legitimate story. Okay,
right,
so I got stopped by the police, and obviously you don't know why they're stopping you. I mean, in my case, it could be anything, but So I get stopped by the police. Needless to say, officer rolls down the window and says to me, "Hey, been listening to the podcast. Gets me through those rough shifts of fighting crime."
Nice.
So, shout out to the Sunbury Police Department, Officer Slack, some of those guys, Nori Police Department, all the guys around town. So technically, if you want to get, you want to break this down, we are actually helping fight crime.
Of course we are.
We are. We're like friend of the show, Phoenix Jones. We're kind of modern day superheroes, Tony.
That's right. We need our own capes and
so
nicknames.
Shout out to all the police officers, firefighters that are, if we can make your day a little brighter so you can actually do something important.
Yeah.
We're here for you.
No, that's the best news I've heard all day. Absolutely. Very cool. Of course, we appreciate what you guys do in Norrie, Sunbury, surrounding areas, and police officers all around the world. So yeah, absolutely. Very cool to hear that. So big show, John, as always. UFC Heavyweight contender Curtis Blaydes going to join the show to talk about his comeback after dropping his most recent fight to Francis Ngannou. Second one he dropped to Francis. That's a tough one. UFC Fight Night Blaydes Ngannou 2 back at the end of November of last year. So we're going to talk about that. I mean, that's the thing. We're not here just to talk up to the next hottest thing, the guy who happened to win over the weekend. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stories that come from losses too. Some of the biggest lessons are learned in losses. So we have some cool stuff with Curtis Blaydes, former Bellator Light Heavyweight champ Liam McGeary, longtime friend of whatever show we've been doing over the years. He joined us to talk about a win. We're at the opposite side. An impressive TKO win over King Mo Lawal, Bellator 213 in December in Hawaii. Great to see the former champ back on track. He looked like classic Liam McGeary, using that ridiculous length, some vicious punches, kicks, and he literally put Mo out. So we love Mo too, but it was nice to see Liam get back on the winning track. So
yeah, and Liam McGeary, anybody who knows, he's a soccer hooligan in a kickboxer's body. He's that guy, and a lot of fun to watch. Technical as all get out, but not afraid to throw down. Like they do back in the London pubs, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So I want to take a minute this week to talk about, just to throw some stuff around. You and I are always going back and forth, just some of the hot topics in the sport right now. A lot of our stuff is kind of interview, but there isn't a lot that we talk about. So some stuff that both of us were kind of bouncing ideas off each other. First of all, shout out to My MMA News. I'm a contributor there. They're having their year-end awards. I was actually nominated as Reporter of the Year. Votes from everyone in the room except Lil Jon. And I love it. Well, Big John didn't say he voted yet, so I don't know.
I voted, Tony. I did.
We got a healthy lead right now. Trying to hold on. 10 more days. We'll see how it goes, but definitely go in there and vote for.
The only reason that you were nominated is because Ariel's not in this category.
I don't know. There was like 10 nominees. I might have made the cut there, too.
You might have. I don't know.
James Lynch is in there. Shout out to James Lynch. He does a great job. Yeah. Everyone nominated has done a lot for the website and for the sport. So very cool stuff there. Tim, we just had him on the last show. Tim has a fight. It's official. UFC Wichita, Omari Akhmedov. We actually will make our super secret public. As we left last week, he's like, because we talked retirement, we went down that road, and he told us last week as we left the show out here in the parking lot that indeed he had something lined up. Now it's official, so It'll be great to see Tim back in action. Wichita, John. Do you ever think you were going to go to Wichita?
I'm going to Wichita.
Did you ever think you were going to
I never
go
thought
to
I was going to Wichita of my own, my own choosing. But nothing against Wichita, but I love Tim to death. He's our boy, but they couldn't wait till Philly at the end of the month.
I know. It's actually, speaking of, it's UFC Wichita, March 9th. It's on one of the ESPN extra streaming network platforms. So
I want to tell you, you always joke to me that Dana doesn't listen. Let's think about it. On their last podcast, we lobbied for Tim to get another fight.
We did.
And we lobbied for MMA and UFC in Pennsylvania.
We did.
What happened?
Both.
Within about a 2-week period, both happened. And you're telling me that nobody's paying attention? I'm just telling you, if you want, I'm telling everybody out there, you want things to happen, fighters, anybody, hit us up because, I don't know about you, but I think Uncle Dana's listening.
I think someone is. Actually, my wife, speaking of that, she texted me today when we kind of bounce MMA information off each other every once in a while. And she's like, yeah, you guys were just talking about a card in Pennsylvania last week, weren't you? Someone must have been listening. I'm like, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Maybe it's just coinky dink. But that UFC Wichita card's still kind of coming together. Derrick Lewis, JDS main event. That's a fun fight. Derrick Lewis and Junior Dos Santos. That's going to be a fun one. So great to see Tim back in action. That'll be a fun fight. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm not going to ask if you've seen it. UFC fighter Polyana Viana fights off man who would-be attacker. I guess she was leaving her apartment in Rio de Janeiro, waiting for an Uber, and I guess the story was he came up and tried to steal her cell phone. Who knows where it would have gone from there, but she put her martial arts skills to the test and absolutely battered this guy till the cops got there. It wasn't even a mugshot. I think she actually took the picture of this guy. I mean, busted open, bleeding everywhere. His eyes were basically swollen shut. She put it on this guy. I give her all the credit in the world. That's a great story. I love it.
After she battered the guy and took the picture, I remember I read her response was, "We're going to wait for the police right now."
That's great.
So not
I'm
only
in complete control of this situation. Right. You're going to sit there or I'll beat you more.
And the best part was he did.
If you haven't seen, you've probably seen it by now, but if you haven't, check out the picture. She absolutely put it on this guy. Like it was vicious. So I love, good for her.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I love the guys that are always like, they're watching a women's MMA fight and they go, that wouldn't happen to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Her one quote from the interaction with the man, and I quote, "He asked me the time, I said it, and I saw he wasn't going to leave," she said. "So I already moved to put my cell phone in my waist, and then he said, 'Give me the phone, don't try to react because I'm armed.' Then he put his hand over a gun, but she realized it was too soft. It turned out that gun was a cardboard cutout." So you might not want to physically attempt to attack a UFC fighter with a cardboard gun. Just going out on a limb there.
FYI.
For that and for future reference.
But how impressive was it for her to go, yeah, that's not a gun?
Yeah.
Right?
That's the thing. The average person, like that you watch a UFC fight, you see these people, they're incredibly tough, some of the best athletes on the planet, some of the toughest people you'll ever find, but you don't realize what they could do to someone on the street. Like, what is she? Probably 125, 130 pound woman, just absolutely just battered this guy from pillar to post at will, probably. I mean, the way that professional fighters are trained, I don't think a lot of people realize what they could do outside of competition to you if they chose.
Yeah, and
luckily they're professionals, and the vast majority don't choose to do that. But if put in a situation,
and
they will seriously hurt you.
The worst part is now he's got to go to jail and tell everybody what happened.
That is true. That would be interesting. Yeah. How does that story go? Everyone knows it by the time he got there, probably.
Yeah, and then not even that, Brazilian prison.
Yeah, Brazilian prison.
We've had discussions on our show about Brazilian gas stations. So we know what goes down in Brazilian gas stations.
We have.
I don't ever want to find out what goes on in Brazilian prison.
No, neither do I. So on that note, a couple quick topics we want to cover there, some fun stuff and some serious stuff. We're going to cut to our first interview with UFC Heavyweight Curtis Blaydes, like we mentioned prior, coming off the heartbreaking loss to Francis Ngannou. Main event overseas, big night for him, and he came up short in the rematch to Francis. You'll hear all that here in our interview. This is Tony Reid, Fighters Only Magazine, joined by UFC Heavyweight contender Curtis Blaydes. How's it going, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for taking some time today. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So obviously the most recent fight coming off the loss at Fight Night 141 to Francis. Second fight you dropped to him. That's got to be a tough pill to swallow. Not to start off on a negative note, but now that you've had a little time away from the fight, how are you reflecting on it? What are your takeaways and what are your thoughts on that night that didn't quite go your way?
It wasn't really a tough pill to swallow. I actually got over the night it happened.
Yeah.
It happens. It's heavyweight.
Yeah.
One punch, that's all it is. So I'm not taking anything away from that fight, actually. Nothing positive or negative, because it was a 45-second fight. So
yeah.
There isn't anything to really take away from that. I'm looking forward to my next fight.
Yeah, so 13 pro fights. Obviously, he's still a super young guy with, a bright future ahead of you. It's funny, like sometimes in the game, guys come up and, before you know it, you're 2 or 3 fights deep in a UFC contract and you're fighting Mark Hunt or Alistair Overeem. What was it like to jump up to that level so quickly and have so much success against those legends in the sport? Yeah, it seems like I said, it happens in. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, and the way I beat him, I feel like I did everything I wanted to do. And both of those fights, I was able to execute my game plan exactly the way I wanted to. So I feel great about 2018, and I feel equally just as good about 2019.
Yeah, like you said, we kind of just ended the year 18. We're into 19. Obviously, a lot of people have resolutions or set new goals, things of that nature. If we were talking in, say, January of 2020, what would we be saying about this coming year for Razor Blaydes?
All wins.
Yeah.
Hopefully, a title shot.
Yeah.
Those are my goals.
Yeah, so another dumb reporter question. What's next for you? I mean, have you thought, I know you had the small medical suspension. I mean, you're good there. What's the word on the street? What are you thinking next fight? Anything, any thoughts, anything lined up, anything in the works as far as that goes?
No, I have ideas, but it's all just in my head right now. I haven't heard anything back from the UFC or the matchmakers.
Yeah.
So right now I'm getting back in the gym and I'll be ready if I do get the call for something. I just want to be ready.
Yeah. I know something you voiced your opinion on a thing that's a topic that a lot of us in the industry are kind of, have a level of frustration about how the fights become. I think you said it yourself best. The fight game is about everything but the fight inside the octagon. The self promotion. The over the top actions of certain people. Twitter followers, Instagram followers mean more than a performance. I mean, what are your thoughts on the current state of the UFC and MMA to some level in general?
Pretty much what you just said.
Yeah.
MMA it's not what I originally thought it was going to be. It's a lot more about promoting yourself and your brand, and there's a million ways to that, but a lot of guys are going the a-hole route, and I know that's what gets guys noticed the fastest. It's the easiest to use for clickbait. That's not my plan. I'll never really be like one of those guys. I don't like that. I don't think you need to promote yourself. There's other ways to promote yourself. I just focus on what I'm doing in the actual octagon. I use that to promote myself.
Absolutely. absolutely. And something about your backstory I thought was interesting. Obviously, you have a decorated wrestling career in high school and college, but I saw you played defensive end. Can you walk us through what Curtis Blaydes was like on the gridiron?
That was long ago.
Yeah.
I wasn't average. If I had been above average, I'd probably be in the NFL right now.
Yeah. Who was your favorite NFL team? Who were some of your favorite players? Who were the guys you like to watch as a youngster?
Man, I'm a Bears fan from Chicago.
Yeah.
Pretty much any Bears, Urlacher, Briggs, guys like that.
I'm actually a Bears fan too, so yeah, I'm with you there. Hey, so far so good this year, man. I'm not sold on Trubisky yet, but so far so good, right?
Yeah, it's a lot better than last year.
Yeah, that's for sure. That is for sure. So, as far as other things away from the Octagon, I know you left school, you left college to pursue an MMA career. Every fighter seems to have that moment, that fork in the road decision to make. Can you walk us through that decision-making process at the time and what it took to, the guts it kind of took to leave school and pursue a career in maybe the hardest industry in the world?
To be honest, I didn't like school, so it wasn't a hard decision. I knew I was a good wrestler. I knew that my wrestling would be enough to get me by the majority of my opponents, at least. So I hit the upper echelon of guys. So it really wasn't that much of a decision. I'm a pretty logical thinker. I wouldn't have tried MMA if I didn't think I had a legitimate chance of being the best at it. I wasn't in it just to get a contract and to tell people I was in the UFC. I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't have taken the chance and talked to the school if I didn't believe I had a legitimate chance of getting it though.
Yeah. Very cool. So one of the sections we do in the magazine and Fighters Only, it's called The 5 Fights of My Life. And not to put you on the spot too much, but if I could run you through that real quick. When I first say the 5 fights of your life, what's the first one that comes to mind as far as one of the top fights in your career? Yeah. So as far as, like we talked about a little bit earlier, but the Mark Hunt fight specifically, what are your takeaways from it? What are your thoughts on it? Were there any moments in the fight that stood out to you now looking back on that night?
I mean, after he landed the overhand in the first round, I had to revive that.
Yeah.
That was probably the biggest moment after that. It was pretty much smooth. I was able to get my takedown at will, and I wasn't really in any other dangerous spots after that.
Yeah, and like you said, that Hunt striking, his punches, his kicks, the combinations. I mean, that stuff has overwhelmed some great fighters to make it through that. I mean, that had to be an incredible confidence boost for you that night. Heck yeah. So you mentioned the Overeem fight as well. I mean, what are your thoughts? Again, your thoughts on that night, on beating another legend, another incredible striker, one of the most decorated heavyweights, to get a W over him. I mean, what was that night like for you? Yeah. That finish again over someone like Overeem. I mean, do you remember the moment when when you knew it was all said and done, when the finish came? Do you remember that moment?
Not exactly.
It's a blur, right?
Yeah, it's always a blur. I watched the film enough times. It was pretty much over after the first elbow land.
Yeah, definitely. So that's 2 of 5. Where will we go for number 3 on the list of top 5?
I guess my UFC debut against Ghana, even though I lost that one, I feel pretty proud about that one, given circumstances heading into that fight.
Yeah, so again, we always hear Octagon jitters and the stuff guys go through in their first fight on a big stage. What do you remember from the Octagon debut? Did you have the quote unquote jitters, and if so, how did you work through that? And if not, why not?
Right. I mean, the jitters are always there.
Yeah.
I still get those. I doubt they ever go away. But it was a little different having to travel to Europe, and I didn't really have a gym or coaches or anything like that. It wasn't the best situation, but I guess because you can't really turn down the UFC.
Yeah, like you said, that is a tough spot to be in your debut, and then you're flying halfway around the world to make that dream come true.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it wasn't the best, but I don't regret it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's 3. Where are we going for the 4th of the top 5 fights?
I guess the first one, my first actual win in the UFC. I beat Cody East. That was after I lost to Ngannou. So October of 2016. That was a big one because that was my first win. And there was a bit of pressure that I'd already lost my debut, and you don't want to go 0-2 because they get more liable to get released.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of that pressure.
Yeah, and like you said, you had the Octagon debut out of the way, but like you said, that first win to make that dream a reality. What was it like to get that first W? I mean, did you have?
That was perfect. The way it ended up, I had to go through a bit of adversity. I got rocked a little bit. But I was able to. That was the first time I had a fight with Team Elevation and my coaches, and they did great. They would help me. They would give me actual coaching in between rounds. But I think it went perfectly. It went as well as could be expected, being our first fight together.
That's awesome.
And I won the bonus that night. So it was just
that's always good, right?
yeah.
For sure. So number 5 on the list. Where are we going for the 5th and final fight on the top 5?
I guess that probably one of my amateur fights. It was my first. I think it was 5 rounds. It was World Cup, and I won it in the last. It was like kind of my first legit opponent, and beating him gave me a lot of confidence in that.
Very cool stuff. Well, hey man, that's all I got for you. Truly appreciate the time. I'll definitely keep in touch and let you know when we get this in print. We'll get some copies out to you guys for sure. So again, thanks for the time. Best of luck, and let's catch up again soon, man.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye. So that was our interview with Curtis Blaydes. As you could hear there, he wants to be known for what he's doing inside the octagon. Guys like Derrick Lewis are kind of rubbing him the wrong way. He doesn't like the rah-rah, sisk boom bah to get a bigger fight or a title shot. Clearly the fight didn't go his way this last fight. He's ready just to prove himself in the octagon again. A lot of guys are calling him out. Like I said, there's a little beef there between him and Derrick Lewis. guys are just calling him out left and right. I think, like I said, he just wants to get back in there. He's kind of no nonsense. He just wants to fight. He wants to prove himself in the octagon. He's one of those kind of throwback guys. So many guys in this day and age are, and men and women in the sport, it's like they're trying to read out of the Conor McGregor playbook, but in reality, you got to get it done in the octagon. That's all he cares about right now.
And I think, unfortunately for him, he was kind of the victim. Not that he doesn't deserve to be talked about in that contender, discussion, but I think because the heavyweight division is a little bit thin, his name started to pop up, and you heard people go, "Really? Him?"
Well, think about who he fought.
Yeah.
I mean, and he, Hunt, Overeem, he has like career-defining wins over some of the legends in the sport. So, and I even talked to him about that. Like a young up-and-coming guy, you get a couple wins. I mean, in the blink of an eye, you're there. We actually had that part of our conversation. Then all of a sudden, you're knocking out Overeem or taking it to Hunt. I mean,
yeah, but I know
you deserve to be there.
But
so
I know some of the guys, some of the guys at the top of the division already were kind of questioning whether or not he was ready. Again, it doesn't matter what the other fighters think. It's the guys writing the checks and the guys, putting the fights together. They think you're deserving. Guess what? That's all that matters. Yeah,
and he was on a 4-fight winning streak prior to that. Like I said, win over Hunt, win over Overeem, then to get that fight again against Ngannou. I mean, that's a murderer's row, man. If you're taking, decision win over Hunt at UFC 221, the TKO elbows over Overeem, that was a vicious one at UFC 225, and then to turn around and be fighting Ngannou and trying to get that one back. I mean, he's hanging for sure. He belongs in that upper echelon. It's just a matter of, who's next for him, I guess.
And with the heavyweight division kind of in flux, with DC talking about retirement, Jon Jones lurking, Brock Lesnar lurking, and nobody really clearly defined as the next guy in line. You know what? Who says we're not, next year at this time, we're not talking about Curtis Blaydes as heavyweight champion?
Oh, that's his plan. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about that. So, yeah, it's just great to talk. Like I said, you get in this rhythm, in this cycle of, talking to the winner of last week's event. I mean, we have love for everyone, man. We ultimately respect anyone who steps in there, and we just love talking to and the guys we've developed relationships with over the years too, of course. But it's not all about wins and losses, baby. We love you. We love you regardless.
You know what else we love?
What?
Gruppito.
We do love Gruppito. That interview was brought to you by Gruppito. So please check out Gruppito.com. John, we got the device. I got the bucket. We need some sand, and we need Tim Boach back in here. We need to do a video for Gruppito. He needs to grip the pedo. Isn't that their tagline?
Learn to grip the pedo. Isn't that it?
Something like that.
Okay.
Nick's on the fence. He's not sure about that.
My child's in the room. We should probably move on from this discussion.
Fair enough. Let's do that. Bellator 213 results. Like we said, we're having Liam McGeary here on the show. Got back on the winning track. That was a great event in Hawaii. The first, the maiden voyage to Hawaii was a great event. Alimale McFarland defended her title against Valerie Letourneau. Just kind of like a career-defining moment for Alimale. Just it was an amazing fight. She beat her by submission, triangle choke, 3:19 of round 3. I mean, Alimale, she's about as good as it gets right now. Lyoto Machida made his Bellator debut. A tough one against Rafael Carvalho. A split decision, could have kind of gone either way. That's like another thing. A high-level UFC guy, former champ, superstar, comes to Bellator. Not quite maybe as easy as you think it is. So, and Neiman Gracie handed Ed Ruth his first professional loss, submission rear naked choke in the 4th round of their 5-round fight. So that was an L for Ed Ruth. And like we said, Liam McGeary defeated King Mo. KO, 53 seconds of round 3. Great to see him back on track. John, thoughts on McGeary, King Mo, and McGeary's clearly back in the title picture with a win like that over King Mo.
And again, that fight's exactly like you would think. If King Mo gets his hands on McGeary, the fight's going to go, his way. McGeary can stay at range, can use those long limbs, can, if he, when he does get on his back, can fight him off, using those limbs, as well. So again, Liam McGeary's a guy who, I don't care if it's Bellator, if it's the UFC, I don't care if it's somebody's backyard. He can beat anybody in the world.
Absolutely.
On any night. So, again, props. We love him. One of our favorite interviews, one of our favorite guys.
Yeah.
So, if I'm sitting at the top of that division, I'm not happy to see Liam McGeary
to see him
come strolling back into the pub.
And like you said, guy from overseas, just real blue collar, nose to the grindstone work ethic. And not to give away much from our interview, which we're going to cut to here in a second, he wanted to prove that King Mo couldn't take him down. Earlier in his career, and again, not to give away the interview, but we talked about this, where Liam was very comfortable fighting off his back, using his jiu-jitsu, which he's brilliant at. But you start wrestling guys like Phil Davis, literally wrestling these guys, they can hold you down, they can kind of control you, and I think he saw that. So this fight leading up to the King Mo fight, he made it a point to be able to control where that fight went and control what Mo could do in the wrestling aspect. So that's really a key part of this interview, along with some other cool stuff from Liam. So we're going to cut to the interview with former Bellator Light Heavyweight champ Liam McGeary right now.
It's Tony Reid, Fighters Only magazine, joined by the one and only former Bellator Light Heavyweight champ, a guy ready to take that crown again, Mr. Liam McGeary. How's it going, man?
Hello, mate. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well. We're getting close, huh?
Oh, yeah.
So obviously I reached out after your huge win at Bellator 213, the TKO of King Mo in the third round. Used crisp striking. Your length and reach is a problem for pretty much anyone in the division. You utilize that long jab, the kicking game, nullified a high-level wrestler's takedown, and basically stopped him with some heavy rights in the third round. Now that you've had at least a little time to reflect, a little time away, what are your takeaways from the fight?
My takeaways, I now know how to stop a takedown.
Yeah.
I now know how to cause people problems and get off my offense as well as working with defense at the same time. I've learned to put everything together I've learned to put everything together.
Yeah, very cool. And I know earlier in your career, you have such high-level jiu-jitsu that you kind of relied on that if the fight went to the ground, but sometimes you'd get a lay-and-pray wrestler, and it would just be tough to get off or do anything. We clearly saw, like I said, you stuffed a couple of King Mo's wrestling is as high level as pretty much anyone in the sport. When you started stuffing his takedowns, when you started damaging him with those elbows, what did that do to the complexion of the fight, maybe even your confidence at that point?
I was always confident I was going to do what I was going to do to him.
Yeah.
I've worked hard on my training. Even in training, everything was going together well. My coaches were happy. That makes me happy. So I knew going into that fight that I was going to be able to do what I was going to do. I was just like itching for that moment to happen and just to put it all into practice,
Yeah.
King Mo is definitely one of the top wrestlers in the division, and so I was happy that it all came together like that.
Yeah, and the finish itself, we saw those right hands that right just wobbled him. You hit him again, almost hit him with a head kick, kind of on the way down. What do you remember about the finish?
That didn't.
What's that?
Pardon? I'm glad that kick didn't land.
Yeah. I mean, that could have done some serious damage. What do you remember about the finish? I know it happens in an instant. Do you remember anything from the finish itself?
Yeah, so I hit him and I threw the kick, and as he was going down, I thought the fight was over.
Yeah.
So I started to walk off, and the last thing I heard was him say, "I'm okay." So I turned around, and I was going to wind up and crack him one in the face. But you see how hard I was hitting him during the fight. I was laying some level on him, right?
Absolutely.
So when I turned around, and as I was moving towards the referee moving towards Bo to throw the punch, that's when I noticed the referee stepping in between. There wasn't any wave, there wasn't any push off, so I tried to take as much out of that punch as possible and take the sting off it, so it wasn't going to hit him in the head full on. But I couldn't stop that punch. I didn't do that out of any malice or any bad blood or any bad feeling whatsoever. We're our sportsmen here, and we're friends as well. So it was just one of those things, timing thing. The referee, myself, it was just one of those. Just an unlucky shot, really.
Yeah.
That's all I put it down to.
Yeah.
But there wasn't no real power to it, considering the shots that I had hit him with.
Yeah.
Those had hurt him, but that one was nothing.
Yeah, and once the reality set in that the fight was over, you're back on the winning track. Like we said, former champion. How good did it feel to take out a top tier guy and to finally get back on the winning streak?
needed to go out. I needed to go out there and put on a dominant performance. I did. After the 2 prior ones for that, it kind of dampened a few things. Even in my own head, it dampened a few things. So I needed to go out there and just show to myself and to everyone that I am more than capable of doing what I started doing in this division. Mm-hmm. Like, just remember, it took me, I don't know even how many minutes. Every one of my fights is first round finishes. Everyone is finishes that I've won. The only one that was a world title fight, and that went 25 minutes. And that was exciting enough as well. So I do put on performances, and I'm just happy to go back to putting on these performances for all the fans.
Absolutely. We know leading up to the fight, you spent some time at HB Ultimate Training Center, the former home of Tito Ortiz, a man you've bested in the past. Can you just talk about the experience of working with Tiki, working with Paul Herrera? Those guys have been around the sport literally since almost UFC 1. Paul was fighting early on. Tiki spent his time there. Just can you speak to how much that changed? Like you said, you were itching to show what you had, whether it be offensive or defensively in the wrestling game, and what you could nullify. Can you just speak to your time there and how much that did change your game in that short time?
It massively changed the game. Paul Herrera is an absolute genius when it comes to wrestling. Tiki's an absolute genius when it comes to putting together things with striking. Those two as a team are truly amazing. I can't speak highly enough of them. When I turned up there, they didn't know what they was getting. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. It was getting out of your comfort zone on a whole other level. So I wanted to turn up there and show them that I was more than capable of getting through a training session. No matter what they threw at me, I was always going to get out, and I'll be first in the gym, last one to leave. I was ready to do work. And for my high rate of work rate and their high coaching rate, it kind of worked together as a good team, So I think that's how come we work so well together.
Yeah,
they're good at giving orders, and I'm good at following them.
There you go. That works. Do you remember that first session with them? What was it like? What was the atmosphere, the environment like? Do you remember kind of getting on the mat or getting out there for the first time with them?
So my first session actually was a strength and conditioning program, and it was a leg workout. When we did this massive, monstrous leg workout, then I jumped on the bike and did one of the climbs on the bike, and my legs were like jelly. I was almost ready to pass out. My head was spinning around in circles, and I pushed as much, and they were surprised that I even pushed that far.
Wow.
And I was myself, and it was like, this would be the hardest session you'll ever have. And I think they wanted to see where I was at, what they could push me to, and how far I could actually go without breaking. And I didn't break, and neither did they. So, yeah,
wow.
I mean, like I say, man, I love working. I love hard work. I've been working as a still fixer most of my life, so I'm used to doing hard graft. So when I find a gym that can push me to where I know my abilities are going to, yeah, I'm happy to just go balls out with it, basically.
Heck yeah. So I think you were quoted as saying kind of like to take things to the next level, there are serious sacrifices that had to be made. Clearly you're making those. What's the future hold for you at Ultimate Training Center? Is that a place you're going to kind of just put down some roots, or what are you looking to do as far as gym work and training session and partners in the future?
I'll definitely be going back to the Ultimate Training Center. Yeah. We formed a very good relationship in there. I love the workouts. I mean, that's for setting down roots. I've just settled down some roots in Hawaii, so I'm gonna be here. But it's only a 5-hour flight across the water, so it's not too bad. Yeah.
So as far as
but I train over here while I'm here. I train with Rodrigo Gracie down at Todd Tahanica's place, to Helson Gracie's gym.
Yeah. Oh.
So, and I've got some quality training partners, a few black belts to roll jiu-jitsu with, strong wrestlers. So I mean, the training is very good, and then I just go over there for camps.
And that's the thing about Huntington Beach. I mean, like when Tito was in his prime, I mean, it's still kind of like a hotbed, like a go-to for MMA training. I mean, it's got to be cool to, like you said, to be in that environment, that atmosphere, and have some options there that are relatively close.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of tough guys over in Huntington Beach, California in general, you know, and everyone likes to train. So yeah, no, definitely good options over there.
Yeah. So one last thing about.
I'm very happy. I'm very happy at the Ultimate Training Center.
So one last question about the gym, about the training camp. You mentioned the first experience there, the first workout. What was the maybe not most difficult moment, maybe most challenging moment? Was there a session where you're like, damn, or was that first session that session for you?
I dreaded the bike. The bike was the worst. Was the worst workout that I had out of a lot of them. I mean, I'd do the bike after, I'd be training in the morning, and then I'd go back again and do the bike. I'd do the bike on a Saturday morning, and that was like, I grew to love the bike, but I fucking hated it. I'd be even driving up there, like leaving my house at the gym, going to the gym, and I was like, fuck, I want to do that bike. The bike. I really had to get myself into a mindset to do the bike.
Yeah.
But then I beat the bike. The last session, I beat it. So I started on the bike, and I thought I was going to end on the bike, and I fucking won. So
that's awesome.
So yeah, it's exactly. So it's kind of like a little inside victory there for myself.
Yeah.
Nobody else will know what I'm talking about there, but anyone who knows that bike and has done that workout, they'll understand where I'm coming from. But it fucking sucks.
Is it like the Airdyne bike, one of the bikes?
Yes, the Airdyne bike. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny stuff. That's very cool though. Like you said, they saw your will and determination and work ethic, and you know you weren't going to give up. You're going to fight through, and like you said, you won. So that's gotta impress them as well.
Yeah, it did. You know, but you know, I had a new focus, man. My family, you know, I got my son. I got a daughter. So I kind of have a reason to fight. I have a reason to do all this for them. You know, so. I had them in the back of my mind the whole time, and it wasn't a great deal that I wasn't able to do, you know, and nothing that I couldn't accomplish. So it definitely helps having a good focus in your head.
Yeah, very cool stuff. One last thing before we let you go. One of the sections we do in the magazine is called the 5 Fights of My Life. Not to put you on the spot with a loaded question, but if you could run us through, maybe we'll go 1 through 5, just the fights that maybe even stand out to you now as we're talking. When I ask you that question, you know, you're 13-3, former Bellator champ, you know, wins over Mo, obviously Tito, Newton to get the title. When I ask you about the fights of your life, what's the first fight that would be on that list that you'd make?
Of this list of how many fights I've had.
Of your fights, what are some of the most important? What would be the first one that comes to mind when I ask you about the fights of your career?
I'd say the tournament fights, all of them. You know, every single one of these fights have been important to me. You know, my first one, my debut in Bellator, they stuck me against an Ohio State wrestler, I think he was.
Yeah.
Anton Talamantes?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Anton Talamantes was my debut fight in Bellator, you know. I wasn't supposed to win that fight. Whooped his ass in the first round. Right, what else we got? The second round of the tournament against that traveller. Oh, you know, he's got all of this experience. He's done it. I thought, fuck knows what his name was. Whooped his ass in the first round as well. Third fight, what we got? Kelly Nansen, another fucking wrestler, whooped his ass in the first round as well. But I didn't realize I broke my foot and then laid on my back and got my jiu-jitsu. but I still won in the first round. Third fight would be King Mo, and then the fifth one, T. Ortiz.
Yeah. You
know, T. Ortiz was a very big number, a very big fight. I mean, like, I grew up watching that dude fight.
Absolutely.
So for that, he's probably one of my top. He's the top fighter for me. You know, that top fight. Because, like, I defeated a legend, you know, so it was a little notch in my feather in my cap for something like a personal satisfaction for that one. I remember sitting there smoking weed with my friend. I could beat that dude. And Tito was one of them guys I said I could beat that dude. And he whooped his ass in the first round, too.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, yeah, man. So I think they're my 5 fights.
All right, very cool stuff. Hey, man, that's all I got for you. I truly appreciate the time. I'll reach out every once in a while if that's cool. I'll hit you up, and I'll definitely let you know when this interview gets in the magazine. We'll get some out to you for sure, man. I appreciate the time. Best of luck, and let's catch up again soon.
Yes. Nice one, Tony. Thanks very much, man.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me on the interview. Okay.
Absolutely. Have a great New Year.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Take it easy, man.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
That fantastic interview, if I do say so myself, with Liam McGeary, was brought to you by G.O.A.T. Check out G.O.A.T.com.
Grip like a hawk with G.O.A.T. G.O.A.T. Trainer was invented by a biomedical engineer that has years of strength training and experience in martial arts. G.O.A.T. in the sand application is mainly a concentric exercise and is great for conditioning the hands, forearms, and the arm musculature as a whole. This helps athletes with having strong, long-lasting grip that does not easily fatigue during competition. Check out the videos and more at G.O.A.T.com. That's GRIPEDO.com.
So we're back. And of course, some of the biggest news of this past week. Actually, it was December 29th, John. I'm losing track here, baby. I'm losing track. UFC 232. Jon Jones took out Alexander Gustafsson to capture or recapture, regain or gain the UFC Light Heavyweight strap. We'll get to that in a minute, but I don't know what was a more impressive performance. I think the co-main, Amanda Nunes taking out Chris Cyborg via TKO, 51 seconds of round one. Man, I don't care who you are. I don't care how much faith you had in Amanda Nunes. To think it would go quite like that, I don't think there were many people that did. I thought she could hang, but I mean, Cyborg hadn't lost. She lost her first professional fight, was her last loss. We're talking a decade. She is just buzzsawed through every single woman that stood in front of her for the better part of 10 years. And Amanda Nunes, she was having none of it. She stood there, caught Cyborg, firefight. Like the entire 51 seconds was a firefight. Nunes caught her at the end of some major shots, rocked Cyborg, dropped her, put her out. An amazing performance by Amanda Nunes. Clearly, she threw her name in the GOAT hat of female MMA. I mean, if you think what she did to Cyborg, incredible. She basically ended Ronda's career, basically for all intents and purposes ended Misha's career, and then to do this to Cyborg, I mean, champ now too. I mean, holy heck, what an incredible performance. And
I'm going to say it here that, and it was always kind of festering and kind of floating there. Amanda Nunes is my favorite fighter.
Really?
She is.
Wow.
I've always been a fan, but watching what she did, and not only what she did, what happened after the fight.
Yes, I agree.
The legitimate emotion, the legitimate joy, just enjoying what you do, being proud of what you do. Again, anything everything with her personal life, we all know, she's a trailblazer in that area too.
Yeah.
She's my favorite. I'm sorry. I don't really want to even break down the fight. Not that
you're just gonna say she's your favorite for like 5 minutes. She is my favorite
fighter. She is now, if she's not the greatest women's fighter of all time right this second, I don't think she has much farther to go.
Yeah, I know we're all prisoners of the moment.
Right.
It's all, but to truly step back, she's, like I said, she's clearly in the conversation. You can make a strong case that she is. I'm glad that you mentioned the post fight, because that moment almost made me have a moment to watch, like you said, watch that emotion, watch that pure joy, watch that sense of accomplishment, and then to see her interaction with her team and her coaches and Conan. And it was a moment. It was a special moment for sure.
And you see emotion, but that was something different.
Yeah, it really was.
The tears, the joy. That was a real legitimate feeling. Yes, everyone's happy when they win a fight, but this was something different.
Yeah, it really was.
Because again, it not only was this win impressive, was it devastating and decisive? Was it against arguably not only the scariest fighter, male or female, walking the planet? It was also a legacy fight, something that now, as long as she has a relatively productive rest of her career, she's in the conversation for the greatest female fighter of all time.
Yeah, like so there's really no arguing it. Definitely in the conversation, like I said, strong case that
Now let me ask you this, Tony.
Yeah.
Is she now the best fighter in the world, pound for pound, gender for gender?
I don't know. That's such a tough call. I especially when you start talking gender for gender, that's a whole nother leap to make.
I'm going to give you the
from
answer.
Pound for pound.
Yes, she is.
You're just saying that because she's your favorite fighter now,
I don't
John.
care, Tony. Okay,
You're
make
just saying
an argument against me.
You're just saying that. I'm with you. I'm just saying I don't.
What other fighter has? Okay, so Ronda was the GOAT, right?
Mm-hmm.
She destroyed. Okay, at the time, Ronda was the GOAT. She devastates Ronda.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, Cyborg was considered probably the greatest women's fighter of all time at that point. Now, so she is now dispatched with the two greatest of all time. Previous to her. So who else has done that? You name me another fighter that has done that.
Dude, I'm with you. Here, listen to now. Early on, anyone that wants to poke holes, you're going to say, "Oh, she lost to Alexis Davis. She lost to Kat Zingano. She lost to Sarah D'Alio." So again, I mean, if you want an argument, and she's 17-4, that's where we're going for the argument. But, dude, Jermaine Durandamy, she TKO'd her. Shayna Baszler, one of your favorite pro wrestlers now, TKO'd her. Subbed Sarah McMahon, decision Valentina Shevchenko, which you don't even hear that much. Shevchenko's right up there. Sub Misha, TKO'd Ronda. Rematch with Shevchenko, split decision, fair enough. TKO'd Roxy, who's as tough as it gets, and then decisively knocked out Cyborg. I mean, that's an impressive track record right there.
I mean, who's let's figure this out, because again, we're not splitting hairs here, but who's left? Who's next? You don't really know, but by all accounts, she's clean. I don't want to say cleaned out the division because that's disrespectful, but it's going to be a stretch for who she fights next because she's beaten everybody.
Yeah.
And those who she hasn't beaten, they're not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
I like Kat Zingano. I like some of those others, but they're not title contenders anymore at this moment in time. So again, we're talking about right now. I'm not talking about 17-4. I'm not talking about, things that happened in the past. Right now, if she's not in the argument for the best fighter on the planet, male or female, you're crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not arguing with that. Not one bit, John.
You started to.
No, you made me. You forced me to take the other side. So I'm just saying that's where I would poke the holes.
Yeah, and
I agree with you.
You know what? And I'm shoveling in your holes with everything that's being carried in the trailer of the Amanda Nunes hype train.
Wow, are you starting it?
I am driving it. I'm wearing I'm wearing a conductor's hat.
Okay.
I'm like the Tom Hanks character in the Polar Express.
Okay.
I'm that guy.
All right. Like Thomas the Tank Engine, or whatever the hell it was, right?
Right. Yeah.
Thomas.
I am.
You're Thomas for Amanda.
Right. Choo choo.
Fair enough.
Here we go.
So what else do we got, John? I know you had something you were saving for me as far as some type of test, a quiz.
Well, I think
or do you have something else?
Well, no. I think let's kind of shift gears. We'll do a little quiz.
You want to talk Johnny Vo wants to talk a little Johnny Jones.
But Johnny Jones, let's save that for the end because you know what? You and I may argue again.
Yeah, we don't want to get into too much.
Right, let's have a little fun, Tony. How about that?
Let's break it up with a little fun.
So anyone who is a fan of our show, the 3 or 4 of you that are still left.
2 or 3.
Yeah. I rounded up.
2.
And
0 to 1.
that back in the day, our ESPN days, I used to quiz Tony. Used to have a little game time every once in a while.
Do I have like a report card or any official record?
Usually you lose. Most times, but even if you were competing against yourself, which you will be doing now, you usually lose. much like your beloved Chicago Bears. You doink one off the uprights.
Didn't.
Okay, so
John
Tony,
Vavakis, I can't believe you just did that.
So we're recording this in the middle of the week on Monday, the national championship game, Clemson. I don't call it an upset, but upset Alabama.
Routed
for the
Bama.
national championship. So I have a quiz for you, Tony.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a
one,
name.
Nick Saban.
I'm gonna give you a name, and the question it will be: it is UFC fighter or Clemson football player.
I like it. I love these games, John.
Okay.
What do you got?
I'm gonna go really easy for you right off the bat. John Simpson.
He's Clemson.
That you are correct. He is a 6'4", 320-pound guard. Was actually a state wrestling champ.
Oh,
in South Carolina.
Nice.
Okay. Let's go Patrick Phibbs.
Clemson.
You are correct.
Bam.
Junior long snapper.
Oh, John's digging deep. He's giving me the long snappers.
From Pittsburgh.
All right, that's
majoring
cool.
in geology.
That's good to know.
Okay. Yep. Majoring in how about Jimmy Crute?
Oh, one of these has to be a UFC fighter at some point. I'm just going to go UFC fighter just to break the odds.
You are correct.
Bam.
Jimmy Crute, nicknamed The Brute.
The Brute Crute.
An Australian light heavyweight, 9-0.
Wow.
9-0.
That's a good start to your young career there,
I know.
lad.
Okay. How about Bryce Mitchell?
Clemson.
No, UFC fighter. He is a 10-0 featherweight. Nickname, Thug Nasty.
I don't know how I feel about that nickname.
You don't you're not a Thug Nasty fan?
There are a lot of thug nicknames and a lot of nasty nicknames. I don't know if you can combine Thug Nasty.
How about Balin Spector?
You know what you can combine though? Dirt Nasty.
Dirt Nasty.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, Balin Spector.
Oh, goodness. Balin Spector. Clemson.
You are correct.
Bam, 4-1
Freshman
so far.
linebacker from Calhoun, Georgia. Made 8 tackles this year.
Wow, that's not a huge contribution, but okay. Look at John. He's taken to like the bottom of the depth chart. He's taken to like the 53rd guy on the roster.
All right, how about Cannon Smith?
UFC fighter.
Clemson tight end. His father actually played on the 1981 Clemson national championship team.
We're old. Who's his dad? We probably know his dad more than him.
I think it was like Bob Smith.
I know him.
Another fact about Cannon Smith was an Eagle Scout.
Wow. Eagle Scout.
Yes, Eagle Scout.
That's, I'm 4-2 so far.
How about Sayuri Kondo?
UFC fighter.
You are correct.
Bam, 5-2. I'm keeping track. I don't trust you, John.
6-1 female from Japan.
Wow.
Actually, she's a strawweight professional wrestler as well in Japan.
Oh.
Trained by Yoshihiro Tajiri.
Oh, is she an Eagle Scout?
No, she was not. I don't know what the equivalent of an Eagle Scout, like a Dragon Scout. Is that what it'd be in Japan?
Maybe.
All right,
Maybe.
we'll give you 2 more.
All right.
Matthias Nicolau.
UFC fighter.
You are correct.
Oh, I'm on a roll.
You are on a roll. A 13-2-1 Brazilian flyweight that I know nothing about other than he's from Brazil. He is never. I will tell you, he's probably never been to Brazilian prison.
Oh.
And I'll give you another, the last one. I will give you Peter Cote.
Oh, not Patrick, huh? You're going Peter. Peter Cote. I don't think there's many Cote football players. I got to go UFC fighter.
He is a freshman safety.
What?
At Clemson. Was a walk-on. Also majoring in engineering.
I went 6-3. That's
so not
that's
a bad,
damn
not
respectable.
a bad job, Tony. Not a bad
that's
job.
Damn
I will say for our first competition of the new platform.
Yeah. You know what? Just out of spite, I'm going to keep my record.
Are you? Okay.
6-3 to start.
Okay, so
that's not bad.
Good
not
job,
bad.
Tony.
So one last topic before we sign off here. Jon Jones. Such a wide topic. So many varying opinions. We all have them, just like we have other things. John Vo, what's your opinion on Jon Jones?
Well, which opinion do you want, Tony? Do you
want
Do you want the opinion of what happened in the fight and Jon Jones as a technical fighter, or do you want my opinion on Jon Jones and his picograms.
We know it's kind of like the Amanda Nunes. If you're just strictly talking in cage, it's hard to argue with Jon Jones' body of work. So I think we're clear there. I want to hear the extracurricular Jon Jones.
Well, here's the thing.
Opinion.
I did a little researching and got some information off the interwebs and some articles that were written. My problem with this entire thing is that this metabolite that supposedly through a bunch of doctor testing and through, Nowinski and all these big wigs at USADA say is okay and will be and is not new. My question to everyone is, they showed up. This metabolite showed up in his August and September drug tests.
Yeah.
So this was not new, but yet it became an issue to the point where they had to move the entire card. So my question is not necessarily should Jon Jones have been fighting, because the rules say Jon Jones was not doing anything illegal and he should be fighting. Whether you believe it or not, I personally think there's anything still in your system you shouldn't be fighting regardless. Yeah. The rules say he could fight. My issue is not with him. My issue is with the UFC picking up and moving an entire fight.
Oh, yeah.
And pretty much not apologizing to any of the fighters, any of the fans, any of the teams. Pretty much saying,
deal with it. Yeah, really,
exactly, and unapologetically, saying we're in charge here and doing it for Jon Jones. My question to you is this, Tony.
Yeah.
Okay, I know it's a hypothetical, but if one of the undercard fighters, or even Cyborg or Nunes, who are in the co-main event, would they move? Would they move an entire event?
Absolutely not. There's no way. For anyone other than the man named Jon Jones, I don't see it happening at all. And
again, I know he's at the top of the card, and I know he's the name drawing it. But here's my question: what if this happens to, I don't know, Tyron Woodley?
Yeah.
Okay, let's just use his name, and he's at the top of the card. Do they move a fight for Tyron Woodley?
No, I don't think they. Honestly, I don't think they move for anyone other than Jon Jones.
I don't think that's okay.
No, not at all. Here's the thing, too, kind of in line with what you're saying. They just picked up and moved the card. Think of all, not just the fighters and what it does to their routine and their week leading up, their family, their friends, their corners, their coaches, the hundreds of, in totality, thousands of people that flew to Vegas and, booked rooms, booked this, booked that, ticket. Oh no, sorry. Your week is completely fucked.
Let me ask. Let's dig even further. Cali. Where's Alexander Gustafsson from?
Sweden.
How many fans do you think flew in from Sweden?
Yeah.
And then had to change it. Where were the two fighters from the co-main event from?
Yeah. Brazil.
Right. How many and you know how the Brazilians roll.
They travel. Yeah, man. They travel.
You know how the Brazilians roll.
They're passionate.
How many of them had to change? And that's the thing. The UFC, and Dana comes out and says, "Oh, we lost $6 million on the fight." Okay, great. How many? For $1 billion corporation to say we lost $6 million. Again, let's compare that to the guy that saved for 3, 4, 5 months to pay for his $200 tickets plus his airfare. And now you say to him, "Well, we lost $6 million.
Yeah,
you should be okay with this."
Yeah.
Again, to me, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And I have no problem with Jon Jones fighting. If the rules said he could fight, let him fight.
Yeah.
But to pick up the fight and move it, it just looks bad. It's a bad look. It looks shady. If I'm Jon Jones, I don't ask him to do this.
Yeah.
I really don't. And that's my only, and you and I have had going back and forth on this in a while. I've told you this. My only issue with Jon Jones isn't necessarily that he made mistakes, isn't necessarily that he did some dumb stuff, is the lack of self-awareness. No self-awareness. If I'm Jon Jones and they go, "Hey, we're going to move the card for you so you can fight." Everybody already thinks I get special treatment. Everybody already thinks I'm a cheater. I am screaming, "Nope, we're cool. Let's just postpone it. Let's just postpone it. I'm okay. let the facts clear me, and let's do that.
Yeah.
Let the women headline the fight. I'll be fine.
For once, there was a legit co-main that could have carried a card too, which is not always the case.
Right.
So that was.
But as far as the fight goes, it was classic Jon Jones.
Yeah.
He did what Jon Jones does.
But he got that, I mean, those front kicks, the control of time and distance and space with his length, and when he landed a shot, he threw those elbows like punches like he does, just vicious. But when he got to the ground and just walked through Gustafsson like, a hot knife through butter, and those punches and elbows, man, he is absolutely vicious when he throws, especially ground and pound. He is just... Yeah. It is nasty.
And unfortunately for Jon Jones, this is what's going to happen. Jon Jones is probably going to, there isn't many, I don't foresee anybody at light heavyweight. I think Anthony Smith is up next.
That's who's next, yeah.
Hey, no disrespect to Anthony Smith. I don't foresee him beating Jon Jones.
Nor do I.
And, we don't know what's going to happen at heavyweight. Jon Jones is now in the mix at heavyweight.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about, him and DC at heavyweight, where they're talking about,
rumors of Kane.
There's talks of Lesnar Jones that there's always been. So here's the problem. I foresee Jon Jones probably beating all of these guys.
Oh yeah.
If he is a strong favorite in every fight from here on out.
Yeah.
Okay. And chances are he will win. The problem is there's the cloud, unfortunately, no one's going to enjoy what we're seeing with Jon Jones because of the cloud. It's been bungled by Jon Jones.
Yeah.
It's been bungled by the UFC. Yeah. And I think, again, this was another, this tarnishes his legacy, even though, like I said, he supposedly did nothing wrong. It tarnishes his legacy because, again, it lacks that self-awareness to go, you know what? This is who I am. This is how people view me.
Yeah.
I want to be, no, this is not right, but again, Jon Jones has never been the guy for intelligent decisions.
The thing is, like the old adage, where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, how much smoke can be around one guy? Like literally and figuratively, how much smoke can be around Jon Jones and it never be wrong? What he's doing is wrong.
From what I've heard, it's not as much smoke as it is snow. Maybe it would be considered, but
it's just, and it's like in other sports, Barry Bonds, juice. So he has, all-time home run leader, one of the greatest players of all time. Throw it all out the window because he juiced, because he did this, because he did that. There's still a fraction of MMA fans that no matter what Jon Jones does, they're going to stick by him. Mm-hmm. You don't really see that in other sports. If a guy pops multiple times, or it's widely thought of or known that he's doing something illegal, there's still like a weird level of acceptance in MMA a lot with real like hardcore fans and fanboys and supporters of certain guys. Like they can do no wrong.
And I think the Barry Bonds analogy is perfect because Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer
with or without.
Before the
Jones, exactly.
juice. So Jones is the Hall of Famer in the argument for greatest fighter of all time before he ever gets popped. So it's like, unfortunately, everything they did before that is now invalid.
Yeah.
And on top of that, did they really need it? I know Jones's has been, the gas station sex pill conversation.
All kinds of craziness.
And I know it's various stories. We know what Barry Bonds was doing.
Yeah.
We know why he was doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know, nobody really has a definitive answer as to A, what Jon Jones was really taking, and B, why he was taking it.
Yeah.
And that's another, again, cloud. At least in Barry Bonds' case, we can go, we know why. We know why he was juicing. We know why Mark McGuire was juicing. We know what they were doing. We know why they were doing it. In Jon Jones' case, we don't know. We don't truly know what it was, and we don't know why it was.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, women love the long ball. Chicks dig the long ball, right? So that's why Bonds and McGuire were juicing and Sosa.
And assuming Jon Jones' story is true. I think he was looking for the long ball as well.
All righty then. I think that's going to wrap up this episode. John Vivakis, thanks as always.
Hey,
Chad Evans, Nick Shue.
Make sure. Hey, you know what? Make sure that they like us, leave a review, subscribe. Come on, people.
Love us. Give us 5
Love
stars.
us. 18 stars.
Give us 6.5. Give us as many stars as there are in the galaxy.
Hey, I think someone wants to sign off.
Little John's up in here. It's past your bedtime, homie.
John, you wanna say goodbye?
Let's go. Take us out of here.
Tell the world good night, John.
Good night.